More often than not, the sociologists cited in journals, schools, and universities are old white men. And when you're studying a discipline that requires you to be critical in your thinking and opening your eyes to different perspectives, it's important to bring in those perspectives. So in today's video, I'm going to introduce some women sociologists to you and their main contributions to sociology. Obviously, they're not the only women in sociology, so if there's a sociologist whose work that you like, who's a woman of color, etc., feel free to share it in the comments below. The first sociologist that I'm going to talk to you about is called Harriet Martineau. Harriet Martineau was the daughter of a textile manufacturer from Norwich who was born in 1802, and Harriet is actually regarded as probably the first woman sociologist who is recorded and known. And this is obviously a really big thing for her time because women were not only seen as, being banished to the kitchen, to the house, they can't really read and write for the purpose of studying, which was seen as more of a manly, masculine endeavor. Even though she was deaf, it didn't stop her from traveling and writing many books, including on female education, which argued that females and women shouldn't just be stuck at home doing chores, which is of course a revolutionary thought at her time. She also traveled to America, where upon her return she wrote a book called Society in America in 1837, which criticized America's attempt to uphold its claim that it was a democracy in the world and a world leader at that. And that is of course very relevant today, as we can see that there are a lot of policies and things that are happening in the US and Britain, of course, we're not exempt here, of very undemocratic values and actions taking place. My second women sociologist that I'm going to introduce to you is called Kimberlé Crenshaw. You've probably heard of her, and she is a big influence in the world of sociology, especially in race studies. She is a pioneering scholar in the fields of critical race theory, racism, law, civil rights, and black feminist theory. Crenshaw coined the term intersectionality, in which this is used to describe the intersection, the double bind of simultaneous racial and gender prejudice. So everyone has their own kind of intersections between their different identities, and that intersection is where all these identities meet, and that is the unique point in which all these different areas of marginalization kind of come together. So you can't really say and compare that I, as a British East Asian woman, have the same areas of marginalization as, say, like a black man, because our identities are so different and there's many different ways. Same for black women. Even though we are both women, we don't have the same kind of areas of repression, and there's kind of unique areas and histories and context behind that as well. So it's a really important concept and topic in sociology. She's written books like Black Girls Matter, Pushed Out, Over Policed and Underprotected, which she co-authored. Her work has also been super influential in public policy and international policy, for example, the UN's World Conference on Racism in 2001. And if you're interested in the topics around gender, then you will be really interested in the work of Judith Butler. Gender is a tumultuous term and is really quite controversial at the moment, whereas I don't know if it should be. With even it being banned, the study of gender being banned from schools. And Judith Butler has discussed this work heavily. I actually studied her work when I did a module in sociology at the University of Bath on gender, sexuality, science and technology, which was hugely interesting. Her work really opened my eyes into what it really means for gender to be constructed, right? Does that mean that we're constantly creating this notion of gender by things that we say, the actions that we act upon, the clothes that we wear? All these different factors come into what gender and language means. And her work was very philosophical, but her work is very influential in talking about gender in philosophy and sociology. Patricia Hill-Collins is a sociologist who researched around the issues of race, gender, social class, and nation. Now, this is really important because her first book was Black Feminist Thought, Knowledge, Consciousness, and the Politics of Power, which was published in 1990. And this was really important because the relationships between all these different dimensions aren't really something that is discussed in today's public sphere, public discourse around these different topics. They're treated they're treated as their own little like topics in their own right, which is true, but also they are connected with each other, and this kind of creates the environment where we can start connecting the dots and see that all our experiences are interrelated. Obviously, Patricia was more connected with the experiences of Black women as one herself, but she also challenges us to rise above thinking of social phenomena as just like one by itself. And this opens the prospect of continuous change, which she talked about a lot. And she also emphasized how scientific knowledge has sometimes become like a blocker to social change. And to actually study subjects by understanding their lived experience is a lot more empowering for the subjects themselves, and also empowering for the sociologist and the researcher, who is then a lot closer and more empathetic and more understanding and more holistic on the subject's struggles. So these are the 4 women sociologists that I really wanted to introduce to you today. Hopefully you found this interesting, and if you have any questions on any of them, let me know in the comments below. As always, share your questions and share your favorite women sociologists in the comment as well. But with all that said, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!